Hey RecoNs, today I wanted to make a video about the unique texts in Age mythology Retold, outlining a few texts from each pantheon that I think are either important, interesting, or less well known, so that if you're a new player or an experienced player, you might still learn something new. I'll just apologise now for butchering the names of things, because that will very likely happen. First of all, we have the Greeks. I'll start in Classical Age and work my way up each time, so the first tech I wanted to point out is Winged Messenger. Available to Zeus and Poseidon through Hermes, this tech is different from the original game. It actually grants you a free Pegasus upon researching it now, which essentially costs you 1 favor extra compared to a normal Pegasus. But it has extra move speed and line of sight, as well as respawning every time it dies, so definitely worth getting. Then we have both Sarissa and Aegis Shield, available to Zeus and Hades through Athena. Sarissa is by far the most important of the two, but they are bundled together and both work on hoplites, which is very nice. Sarissa not only gives you 10% extra damage, it actually increases the attack range of hoplites, which makes them a lot better at fighting enemy melee units. When using them, you can really feel the difference with and without Sarissa. Aegis Shield simply gives you 15% extra pierce armor, which is just nice to have. Next is Deimos' Sword of Dread, available to Hades and Poseidon through Ares, which actually gives Hippospis a fairly big 15% extra damage. But more interestingly, it makes Hippospis available to be trained in the Classical Age. I haven't seen this used much so far, but perhaps someone will find a good way to use it eventually, perhaps versus Norse for example. In the Heroic Age, the Argonauts tech available to Hades and Poseidon through Aphrodite is actually a ship-based tech which I have found some uses for so far. It gives you the Argo Hero ship, which can kill myth units quite fast. I think it's quite good as it gives you the ship for free on completion and also allows you to rebuild the ship when sunk for a decent price of 200 wood, 4 favor and 4 population space. Finally, in the Mythic Age, Forge of Olympus, available to all Greek gods through Hephaestus, whilst giving less price reduction than the original game, is also far cheaper to research at only 200 gold and 20 favor. It gives you 60% price reduction onto all of your armor techs, allowing you to easily get iron upgrades done on everything very cheaply. In a more passive game, this tech is very strong. Then available to only Zeus through Hera is the new Argive Patronage tech, which actually makes all of your fortresses passively train Myrmidons for free. This tech is potentially very strong once you start to get a lot of fortresses up. I would say at 4 or more forts it becomes really strong. For the Egyptians, in Classical Age, they have Sacred Cats, available to Isis and Ra through Bast. I believe in the original game this upgrade made villagers farm 10% faster. In Retold, it only makes them farm 5% faster, but they also gather all other food sources 10% faster, which is pretty good for 55 gold and 10 favor. In Heroic Age, they get Bone Bow, available to Set and Ra through Sekhmet, increasing the attack range of chariots by 3, making them outrange all the other archer units as well as being more mobile, which can make them deadly if they keep poking the enemy army and running away. Sekhmet also gives Force of the West Wind tech, which is very cool because along with giving siege and myth units more crush damage, also enables you to actually train catapults in the Heroic Age, which is kind of insane. The tech does take a whopping 90 seconds to research though, perhaps Pharaoh Boost can help with that a little bit. In Mythic Age, we have the infamous Valley of the Kings upgrade, available to Set and Isis through Thoth. In the original game, this tech just made Migdal units train significantly faster. However, in Retold, it actually makes you train 2 of whatever it was you were building if you are empowering a barracks or a Migdal stronghold with your pharaoh, essentially allowing you to get anything at half price. This is one of the best upgrades in the game in my opinion. Also in Mythic Age through Thoth as well, we have Tusk of Epidamak, which now gives elephants more damage, makes them cheaper, and reduces their population cost by 1. Pairing up with Valley of the Kings can make elephant spam very strong. Then there is Desert Wind, available to Isis and Ra through Cyrus, a very good upgrade for camels, giving them 20% move speed, damage and hit points. Especially good for Ra, as he already has extra hit points on top of his Migdal units anyway, and can get another camel upgrade tech through Sobek, making his camels pretty insane in the late game overall. Moving on to the Norse, first of all in the Classical Age, Thundering Hooves is available to Thor, Odin and now Freyr, through Freyr. Yes, Freyr and Freyr are different things. This tech is strong once you can muster the favour to research it, which is always a problem in the Classical Age's Norse, giving your raiding cavalry more hit points and more importantly making them 10% faster, to 6.6 speed from 6 speed. Movement speed is extremely important when contesting map control as it allows you to catch enemy units moving out on the map, even enemy cavalry if they don't have this tech too. Also in Classical, available to Loki and Thor through Forseti, is Dwarven Breastplate. Whilst infantry in the Classical Age might not be as dominant as raiding cavalry, the 20% extra hack armor Dwarven Breastplate gives to herdmen, and more importantly berserks, can make them formidable in the mid-game battles. Finally, in the Classical Age, available to Freyr through Uller, one of the new techs called Yadalar, something like this. This actually enables you to train portable rams in Classical Age from the Asgardian fortress, which is basically a special hill fort you can place from Uller's god power. Moving into Heroic, we have a few techs. First of all, available to Odin and Thor through Skadi, Huntress Axe, which I want to point out is supposed to give homing attacks so that the axes can never miss their target. But I think whilst it can actually miss, it is extremely unlikely, and importantly to note, it is better than ballistics, even though the text displays the same thing on the user interface. Also, it gives throwing axemen +1 extra range, which is obviously nice. Next is Ringgiver, available to Odin and Loki through Njord. This tech actually gives Jarls bonus damage versus myth units, which makes them similar to Jarls from the original game, who also had bonus versus myth units just by default. I think Jarls with Njord's upgrades can actually be quite strong and versatile in Retold. Beasts of Renown is a new tech available to Freyr only through Aegir. It isn't something I've tried yet, but the effect is interesting. It sounds very strong to me. Firstly, it gives hill forts and town centres the ability to heal nearby troops, but perhaps more importantly, it makes every town centre and hill fort give 1 food per second in income, which should synergize well with Uller's Asgardian bastion power to summon special hill forts. Finally, for Norse in the Mythic Age, I want to point out the Rampage tech. Available to Loki and now Freyr through Hel, this tech reduces the training time of myth units by a whopping 95%, meaning that they all train almost instantly. A very fun tech to use with a forward temple when you have accumulated a lot of favour, to almost instantly pump out a lot of giants into the battle. It should be noted that this tech does require a huge 100 seconds to research though. Lastly, for Atlanteans in the Classical Age, Bite of the Shark is available to Arenas and Gaia through Oceanus, giving your Mamillo and Fanatics extra damage, and in addition gives them bleed damage, dealing 0.25 damage per second for 3 seconds. This upgrade is pretty good since normally Mamillo are a key unit as Atlantean in Classical Age, although recently I have seen B playing full counter barracks units instead with good success. Fanatics are only available in the Mythic Age, so this part is redundant for quite some time. Now that I mention B, he has recently also been using the Heroic Renewal tech a lot, available to Uranus and Kronos through Hyperion, which gives all your heroes 10% more hit points and makes them regenerate health at 1.5 per second, which is honestly a lot, especially if you consider Odin's passive regeneration strong at only 0.5 health per second. I think I will try this tech more in the future. I believe all regeneration effects in this game are not reduced whilst in combat, so it can be really good. Rhea's Gift, available to Kronos and Gaia through, well, Rhea, is a tech which gives you back all of the favour you have spent on researching tech so far, and also removes the favour cost of all techs that you might research in the future. Except for, I believe, Secret of the Titans for the Titan Gate. This tech also removes the cost of converting units into hero units. I don't know for certain if this is intended or not, but it's definitely a strong tech. It is very cheap and research is very fast too. Next we have Poseidon's Secret and the Lance of Stone, available to Uranus and Gaia through Theia. I will consider these techs together as similar to Sarissa and Aegir Shield, These techs are both from the same minor god and mainly benefit the same unit, which is the Cantarius. Poseidon's Secret reduces the cost of cavalry units, which I realised whilst making this video actually also reduces the cost of turbines, but yes, mainly you want this tech for the Cantarius. Lance of Stone then gives Cantarius 15% more damage and makes their attacks snare enemy units more than usual, which means the enemy will go slower when attacked and have a harder time retreating from the Cantarius. Finally, in the Mythic Age for Atlanteans we have Asper Blood. Available to Arenas and Gaia through Hecate, this is the first myth unit tech I have included in my list, because this tech allows Lampades to actually turn human units into chickens, essentially one-shot killing them, instead of just casting chaos onto the target, which is what they do when they don't have the upgrade researched. Since this does not only work on human units, the best case use is probably on elephants, because they are very expensive, but it's a funny ability you can unlock with the Lampades anyway. And the last thing on the list, Titan Shield, available to Kronos and Gaia through Atlas. This upgrade gives destroyers a massive 50% more pierce armor, as if they weren't already tanky enough versus arrows. Since I believe destroyers are probably a consistent part of the Atlantean late game army for frontline tanking and pushing through buildings, I think this upgrade is very nice to have. That concludes my list of minor god techs. I hope this video was helpful to you in some way. If you wish to leave a like and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching and see you next time.